Okay. At the top of your one-pager, not your one-pager, I'm sorry, but your one-pager notes, I guess essentially what it would be. Unit 7.1 notes, cellular structure and function, where it discusses the 7 characteristics of living things. That just means that to be considered a living thing, it must have all 7 of those types of characteristics, okay? So whether it's a bacteria, or it's a plant, or an animal, human, okay? It must exhibit all 7 of those specific characteristics. Over where it's discussing the levels of organization, which is actually going to be the second portion of information, between an atom and an organelle, there is absolutely nothing living, okay? The atom through organelle is just going to be like the construction stage of creating that organelle and cell and etc. So each level of organization has a specific function or job within an organism. From atom to organelle, there is nothing living, okay? Atoms are going to be considered our building blocks of matter. Our cells are considered the basic unit of life. So those are the cells are the building blocks of life, essentially. Let's see, I'm going to skip down here to organelles are the interior structures within a cell and are made of molecules. Organelle just means like a mini organ, okay, or a small organ. And we know that because it's right before we get to the organ phase of the levels of organization. Living things start at which level? Which level do living things begin at?
The cell part.
Okay, so at the cell level is where our living thing is going to begin life, okay? So the smallest unit of structure and shape and the function of the job. So based on the way the cell is created and formed is going to also determine what it's going to do. So its job, its role inside of that organism. When all of the same tissues work together to do the same function, when all of the same types of cells work together to do the same function, they form what?
Wait, what did you say?
Repeat the question.
When all of the same types of cells work together to do the same function, at the cell level, what's the next level after cells on the levels of organization? Yes, ma'am. Tissues. Okay, so all of those cells working together will now form tissues. Some examples of those would be muscle tissue or brain tissue. Tissues of the same function work together to then form our organs. Okay, so that can be our intestines, our stomach organ. They're going to work together to then develop the organ system known as the digestive system, for example. Organ systems work together to form organisms. And if we are looking at the digestive system working with other systems in our body, that is then going to help develop the entire organism, in this case, specifically an human. At the next section, it discusses that cells are the basic unit of life. Okay, so these organisms can either be one-celled, unicellular, or multicellular. So, like I was saying earlier, unicellular would typically be a bacteria. Multicellular would be some type of organism like a human or an animal. The shape of the cell is related to the function of that cell. Each cell has a specific structure depending on its function. Think about muscle tissue. The tissues are all muscle cells, which all have the same structure, also known as shape, designed to perform a specific type of job, in this case, to help you move your bones. A multicellular organism's cells have different structures because they obviously have different functions. You have different types of cells, brain cells, skin cells, making you a multicellular organism as a human. An example would be a nerve cell has a long body structure which transmits and receives information, which would be the function. Muscle cells are long and thin structure and contract and help move your bones, okay? That's its job, to help move the bones, okay? In unicellular organisms, this is this is where the whole organism is contained within one single cell, in which that one cell carries out all the functions to sustain life, like bacteria. Unicellular organisms only go to the cell level in the level of organization, okay? You have about 100 trillion cells without you, within you, So you are an organism on the level of organization, okay? So let's go to the bottom and discuss prokaryotes versus eukaryotes. And you created a flip or created a T-chart. So living things are divided into two types, okay? So looking at these two examples here, I want you guys to read through it for a moment and tell me if you are a prokaryotic or if you have eukaryotic cells, okay? So read through it on your flip. I see most of you are using your resource, which is awesome. Okay. Prokaryotes lack a nucleus. Okay, they are also unicellular organisms. They're simple and easy to grow. So that means that their growth stops at the cell level. Okay, they reproduce quickly and can clone themselves, make copies of each other. The nucleoid is scattered around the cell and contains the DNA and nucleic acids, the chemical instructions that help control and direct the cell activities, which basically tell it what to do are the nucleic acids and the DNA. Eukaryotic cells, on the other hand, do have a nucleus. They can also be unicellular or multicellular organisms. A nucleus is a membrane-enclosed area with a eukaryote that contains nucleic acids and DNA. This is going to be the genetic instructions, also known as the blueprint for living things. An example of a eukaryote is a protozoa, known as a single-celled organism that contains a nucleus. Plants, humans, and other animals.